Hey folks, Sonic Fan here to show you more upgrades, repairs, and hacks. Today I'm showing you how to upgrade one of these Gooseneck flexible LED lights that you can find for really cheap. You've probably seen them around. They look like so. And they're pretty rad. They're about 10 bucks, 10 to 15 bucks, depending on where you get them. I'm a big fan of these. I've bought a few of them now. And I'm actually going to get one for a friend soon. And he asked me, how long is the battery life? And I said, well, it's about 3 hours or so. And he's like, I'd really like it if it was 5 hours. So, something I'd been putting off for a while, I decided to finally do, which is install a second battery. What's cool is that there's actually room for it. So that this thing comes with one battery. It comes with a touch sensor there with an incorporated SOIC chip, and then there's a charger. Now I'm going to pull up my notes here and actually tell you what those part numbers are, because I reverse engineered a similar product a couple years ago, and I even drew up schematics. I'm going through my notes here, which I might be able to show you as well. But the way it works is it's a 3-state touch mechanism that controls, it's basically the LED controller is all built in here, and then this chip right here is an N-channel FET that switches on when you want to turn on the light. So it's pretty cool, and it's pretty simple, and I just found my notes. Look at my super janky chicken scratch notes here. This is from back a couple years ago, and the part number for this guy right here is the SGL Sam Gary Lewis 8023W, and you'll see these in a lot of them. Some of them might be sand down or whatever, so you won't see the part number, but that's the chip. And then the charger that's used is an LTC 4054 by Linear Semiconductor. And yeah, they've been around for a little bit, and like I said, they're just an N-channel FET, and it's yeah, it's a nice little LED controller chip. I really like it. And the quality of the PCB is actually very decent as well with these. I mean, especially considering the price. Oh my gosh. There's actually a large bulk capacitor on the other side of this board, which is really cool. And, overall, I'm quite happy with it. So why am I modifying it? Well, as I mentioned, the battery life could be improved, and there is space for it. And of course, they're not going to give you a bunch of battery cells for $10. They give you one, and it goes right in this holder here. But I've upgraded it to 2 now, which will double my battery life, probably more depending on how much amp hours or watt hours the battery they give you has, which I imagine wouldn't be too much. Again, it's $10. So that'll be nice. I wanted to share a little bit about that. And also, the other thing is this has 2 LEDs. There's a red charging LED and a blue LED, which is for charge completion. Now, I don't know about you, but those LEDs are super bright to me. If you have one of these, you know what I'm talking about. They're super bright because anything in a white case like this will usually, the light will come right through it. And so if you're using one of these for sleep, like I do, and then you might be woken up in the middle of the night and notice there's a giant blue glowing thing, you feel like you're in a Ghostbusters movie or something. So, yeah, wanted to fix that. I actually don't need a charge complete light, so I went ahead and just took out the blue LED. And one thing I wanted to recommend to folks, whenever you're taking out parts from a circuit board, a little thing you can do, which I highly recommend, is keeping the part and just soldering one leg of it somewhere. And so in this case, I just soldered one leg of it to the capacitor. That way, you never know. You never know, folks. Sometimes you might want to bring things back to stock to resell it, or who knows. I mean, something this cheap, it's unlikely, but you never know, and it's a practice that I use often. So that way, if there's a repair person that ever comes in here and wants to change it back to stock or whatever, or anything you make or do, then it's a good practice to have. I always try to think about the next person down the line that might be opening something up that I worked on. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, and you'll see now it's much, much dimmer. It still shows up in a dark room. Because what I did here is, sorry, I didn't explain it. I put a 10 kilo ohm resistor because the LED actually goes directly from the output of the chip. And a 10 kilo ohm resistor kind of gives me the amount of current that I want. And that's fairly easy to do. What's nice about these cheaper boards actually is they're easier to cut the traces on, so there are some advantages to these. And I cut the trace here and then chipped away to expose the copper, and you put a resistor down. It's a nice little trick to add an inline resistor. And so like I said, I put the spare LED over there. And this one, it does actually show you the part number. It's not sanded down. So you can see, like I was telling you, it's the SGL80. Oh, this is the 2.2. Well, the 2.2 and the 2.3 are probably pretty identical. And since we got a better view here, I'll explain what I was saying before, that we have an N-channel MOSFET. We have a charging regulator, as explained previously. And we have a bulk capacitor on the other side, which is really nice to have. And it does the job. You know, it's a very simple circuit, but it does the job and it does it well. The one thing that is missing here, though, that is quite notable is that there is no protection board for your lithium-ion batteries. Normally, you should have a protection board. In fact, it should always be done where the batteries will cut off if there's overcurrent or undercurrent or overvoltage if the charger fails. These don't have that, which is a bummer. I'm probably going to add that soon. I am actually out of stock of those. I have to order some more. They're very, very cheap. You just look up a single cell lithium ion protection PCB, and you'll find on eBay or similar sites they're a couple bucks. So they've come down in price a lot. Back in the day, they were not so easy to find or that cheap. I remember 15 years ago looking for those boards. It was a different story. As far as putting the batteries together, a little trick. I actually drilled in the. You can see here I made like an opening slot for both sides so that I could connect the two batteries. You don't have to do that though. You could just jump a wire to them. It's sort of better if they have a lower resistance. Batteries really, high current devices and batteries really like wide traces, so the current can flow really easily between the two. And short wide traces are sort of ideal. In this sort of super low power application of a light, it doesn't matter that much, but I was just doing kind of best practices. Also, a thing I wanted to clue people into is this stuff, which is great. It's adhesive copper foil. And I get rolls of this stuff for real cheap. And it'll last you, one roll will last you a real long time. And you can kind of cut it to the size you want. It's actually adhesive. You can get it in different thicknesses. But one of the things I find it's super great for is connecting your batteries and then putting some solder. You can also like add solder to make it thicker. One note here, though, I do have to say, disclaimer warning, do this at your own risk, right? What you're doing here is kind of dangerous, and batteries can explode, and there's no protection PCB. So I take no responsibility if your battery explodes, your house burns down, anything like that. I might actually start putting a disclaimer in my descriptions because, you know, I worry about folks out there watching my videos. Don't do anything dumb. I would, you know, if you're new to electronics, I wouldn't start with this. It's pretty dangerous. So, yeah, keep that in mind and definitely put in a protection circuit. So disclaimer done with, I'll explain what I did. Put the copper foil here, and the outer shell, the outer kind of, I don't know what you would call it, not the shell, but anyway, the outside of the battery is always negative. So your positive terminal is here, and your positive is what you want to be the most careful with. Now, when you're heating up battery cells, which is what I did here, that's not the correct way to do it, by the way. Spot welding is the correct way to do it. Don't have a welding machine to do that. If you're watching this video, you probably don't either. So, you know, you can do this. It's a little dangerous, but you can do it. You want to make sure that you have a temperature controllable soldering iron. You don't want to just put whatever soldering iron temperature on here. And you want to use some flux, so that way you heat up a specific point, the way that a spot welder would, and not just cook the whole battery. So I heated that up, put some solder there, put some of that copper tape, of course put some solder there as well, and then of course, as you can see, run the wire. Now on the other side, I didn't have to put the copper tape because there's actually long, whatever you call them, tabs. The tabs were still there that were angled in just the right direction, so all I had to do was apply some solder, and it was fine. These are recycled from an e-bike, by the way. I love recycling batteries. Batteries are really bad for the environment, so anytime you can recycle them, it's a pretty good thing to do. And yeah, so these are, you know, got some nice recycled batteries that are probably quite a bit better than the original one. and I've now upgraded a pretty nice LED light. The last thing I'll mention that I also find kind of a cool trick, not going to be for everybody, but got this going on backwards, but the last thing I'll mention is if you want a not such a bright white light source like you can see in this video, I turn off my other LED lights, and so I'll show you what I mean. You can get this nice kind of yellowish amber glow, as you can see here, which is much easier on the eyes when you're trying to sleep. And to do that, all I did was added Kapton tape over the LEDs, just a single strip of Kapton tape. It's the right color, and it's heat resistant. Not that you need it in this application, but there you go. So I'm going to put this all together and screw it together. One last note too, just make sure to be careful when you're, not careful, I mean, just want to point out these are the little adhesive feet on the bottom are super easy to get lost and kind of get stuck to stuff when you're working. So make sure to put those aside. And when you're working on stuff like with adhesive feet, just a little reminder, friendly reminder. And yeah, that's it. This brand, by the way, I don't even know if they make these anymore. These come in all different no-name brands, of rebranded in a million different ways. It's the body, it's the shape that's important, and you'll probably see them around. Hopefully this video was useful. If it was, please let me know in the comments. I like reading comments from folks. It's pretty cool. I don't care if you like or subscribe or anything like that, but comments are cool because then I get to see like, oh, somebody fixed a thing and this video helped them. So yeah, that's it for this video. This is Sega Sonic Fan, signing out.